So, Kamala Harris did her first big sit-down interview.
Oh, man.
I know. Now, listen, brace yourself, folks, okay? Because there's some stuff that we got to hear, some stuff that we are going to probably skip over. Shout out to the Vigilant Fox, who was able to at least get some snippets of this on X, formerly known as Twitter. So let's go ahead and pull up this video.
I'm raising my hand, teacher.
Yeah, what's
really
up, buddy?
quickly, though, Kit, I don't mean to interrupt, but I had a fantasy football draft last night. So instead of, listening to Kamala's little interview, I decided to concentrate on fantasy football. So what I'm witnessing today with you will be first time watching it. I mean, I did watch a couple clips here and there. So I'm sorry for not doing my homework, teacher, but I'm here to participate at least today.
So no problem. Let's play this first video where, remarkably, in the first minute, she brings up Donald Trump because, hey, that's the only thing Democrats have.
The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward, in a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans.
The former president, you mean Biden, or are you talking about Trump? Which one?
Americans, really dividing our nation. And I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
Okay. First of all, I didn't hear anything. And by the way, look, I'm not going to pull it up because I'm tired of playing the game, but I'm looking at Kamala Harris's campaign webpage. You know what? Screw it. I will. Here it is. Still no policy. But speaking of policies, hold on. One more thing, and then I want to get your thoughts on this, Pasta, because it has to deal with you guessed it, the economy. Because after all, everything comes down to the economy. And I just want to pull this up here because, this is actually remarkably a good question. Again, shout out to the Vigilant Fox. Then something remarkable happened. CNN unexpectedly asked a good question, pressing Harris on economic issues. 1 minute, 58 seconds. And Pasta, I want to give you the floor.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability. One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging, what we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years. What we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
Okay, to my audience, I apologize that I'm subjecting you guys to this. I understand some of you are saying, why must we listen to her? It's because we need, listen, Myself and Pasto were there covering the DNC convention, and we've dealt with a lot of criticism from liberals. I've dealt with a lot of criticism from liberals, like, oh, you need to listen to Kamala. She's running that whole economic question that she was given right there. Again, word salad. Who's in charge of right now the economy and of this country right now? It is Kamala Harris and, of course, President Joe Biden, who's on permanent vacation. Folks, this right here is utter madness. She has said nothing. Folks, no such thing as a wrong answer here, but type in the comment section below, how do you feel about the U.S. economy? How's the Bidenomics treating you? Because I can assure you, I'm seeing the same thing in my city, and that is people struggling day in, day out. Pasta, the floor is yours, man.
Well, let me just say this much, just right to, to establish something right away, that we have to understand that it was the Democrats' policies, along with Kamala Harris and the rest of her little cronies, that really are the ones who are responsible for crashing the economy. I'm not going to say that Donald Trump didn't play a part in it and allow the lockdowns to happen, but, a lot of this stuff was kicked off to the states individually. And in a lot of Democratic states, we saw a lot of shutdowns. I mean, I lived in LA at the height of the COVID, and it was ridiculous. I think Tyler Fisher said it best. They treated children like adults and adults like children. And we're talking about like adults like children. Hey, show us your vaccine card here if you want to go get a cheeseburger. Literally doing stuff like that. We saw that happen in New York. And we saw a lot of people suffer. We saw small businesses taken on the nose. And really, to tell you the truth, that major policy, the big scare that we have to protect everybody, that this is crazy, not really get to the crux of what the COVID-19 was, came from the Democrats. That's them who did it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
well, let me just say that. Number one. Number two, really, to tell you the truth, this is what we're left with, is platitudes, right? Platitudes. There's no serious talk about how to really fix the economy, how to fix the system in the United States. The truth of the matter is we have no industry here. And even where there was industries, like for places in California where they had the movie industry, it's packed up and gone away. They've now gone to Canada. They're going to other countries. They're doing what they can do. We have a serious problem fundamentally. And this is something that I used to talk to a lot about Trumpers about, like, okay, what has fundamentally changed about when Donald Trump came into office? The homeless number is growing every single year. I mean, at the very least, if you want to tip your hat off to Donald Trump, when he tried to throw some tariffs on the Chinese at one point to try to bring one specific form of manufacturing back home, right? I mean, he tried to pinpoint exactly what was going on, but the Chinese knew how to play his game and they could just wait him out. And that's why nothing was ever going to happen. But in his mind, if he can get some form of manufacturing to come home, so be it. Joe Biden is taking credit for manufacturing and unions and whatnot, and nothing's really happened. We don't make anything anymore in the United States. We don't fix anything anymore. Man, we don't even grow our own food, and we have plenty of space, plenty of land to do so. Mm-hmm. So the problem is right now is that Americans have to understand that when you hear these politicians like a Kamala Harris or even Donald Trump try to brag, I mean, Donald Trump's economic plan is what? He's going to make our own energy cheaper, and that's going to save anything? Yeah, that's a good thing when gas prices are low. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is we don't have any industry. We have nothing but a service-based industry in the United States. Most people's bosses are an app on their phone, and that's really where we're at. So, I mean, these guys can talk in circles the whole time, and that's really, when you look at the fundamental issues, too, and you look at what Donald Trump's doing, it's really it's not anything special. We have to find a way to get out of this by creating an economy that works for everybody here. And I know that kind of seems weird, but I mean, I wouldn't even know how to begin to fix it, because I don't know how you can bring manufacturing home. They didn't like unions. They were too strong back in the days. So instead of dealing with unions, they just signed NAFTA so they can ship those jobs all overseas. And ever since then, we've been on a downward spiral. And like I said, I mean, even though the question, and I think they understand that people are catching on, and that's why they phrased this question this way. But make no mistake about it, kid, that's the biggest issue we have. Nobody can make money. Look at the industry. Look what we're doing right now. They've even found a way, big tech, to make sure that none of us can make money, right? Demonetizing us, censoring us, shadow banning us.
Yeah, termination, all that good stuff. And the thing is, it's a lot of fun when you're in this business, but it's the life we've chosen. To quote our good friend Wyatt when we were in Chinatown from the Gray Zone, this is the life we chose. This is the business we chose. But speaking of choice,
he chose us.
Yeah. The thing is, there's also the choice too, in which how to identify as. Now, look, I want to be very clear on this. Okay. Identity and social issues are important. I get it. We all identify. We all have something value of personal close to us. But the thing is, there was a question that was brought up. Bash asked a question to Kamala on Trump's allegations of turning black for political purposes, because after all, Kamala Harris seems to flip-flop on her identity. Now, again, this was only 30 seconds, but take a wild guess how long Kamala takes to respond to it.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any?
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
No response, but it is rather interesting that she is rather, I guess, backing away from it, yet she is using that as an identity. And the thing is, when you put that as like a front card issue, you shouldn't say next question. You better defend it, because what that response was just more fuel for Trump to use. Now, maybe there's a plan behind it, because obviously, look, Donald Trump, being who he is, he likes to go after people. If they walk funny, talk funny, chew funny, he's going to bring it up. And if they refuse to even acknowledge his criticism, he's going to keep on poking. And now I think that's a bad tactic for him to use. He needs to be focusing on the economy. But this is something that Kamala has run on. In her infamous debate against Joe Biden, she said that she was a little girl waiting to, go on the buses when there was still segregation on the busings and all that other good stuff, right? And all that other madness and insanity. But the thing is, when fact checked about it, she never was that little girl. And then there's also the fact of, she said that she participated in some of the civil rights marches, which never happened. And that she used to smoke weed and listen to Tupac, which never happened while in college. So what do you really stand for? Not only for policy issues, but when it comes down to using identity, which is a key issue on social media, a lot of people like to use it. What are you running on? And if that's the thing you're not going to fight for, and you're just going to say next question, I call into question everything else that you're going to be talking about. Possibly your thoughts.
Well, let's start off by saying that people don't vote on policies, unfortunately, right? I was talking to a lot of Dems that went to the convention and were inside the convention hall, and we were talking about, hey, how'd everything go? It went great. We're ready. We're rocking off. We're good lift off. I think all those people were just relieved that they don't have to talk about Joe Biden anymore. At least Kamala can find her way off the stage and put some sentences together, right? So they were really happy about that. But once again, nobody votes on policies. Everybody votes on feelings. But people also have to understand that the culture war issues are there for one reason: to divide us. When I was talking about Andrew's little group over there too as well, they always talk these culture war issues and they try to lump us all together. They lump us as leftists together. And that's what the ruling class wants, because it's divide and conquer. That's their main plan. So if you're fighting your neighbor, you're not fighting the oligarchs that you claim to fight. But what Kamala Harris is doing here is that she's trying to take the high road right now, in part because Donald Trump has not handled the transition from Joe Biden to Kamala well, right? Even though he was trying to say, well, Kamala never really claimed that she was black. She claimed she was Indian. Now she's claiming she's black. And that's what he's want to point out. The optics didn't play well. Plus, he's starting to call her a communist, which, I mean, this is what's so ridiculous about the right.
The whole thing about the communism thing, like, look, because I know I have conservatives and libertarians who watch this show too. And look, Kamala, she will say, quote unquote, leftist or maybe progressive things, but the Democrats will never do it. And the thing is, like, if you really talk to an actual communist or socialist and they hear you say that Kamala's a communist, it's like, what?
It's ridiculous.
When?
It's a ridiculous statement.
Even hold on, because I wish I had it, but I think even Dave Smith, who's a libertarian, has done a great job, especially at the Libertarian Convention, you know, he said, like, hey, look, you're calling some of these Democrats communists. They're not. They're not.
They're not Marxist.
They're not Marxist.
Yeah.
They're not Leninist. They're not none of that. The
Yeah.
Democrats just put on a good show. But dare I say it, you'll find more authenticity in a WWE or ECW or WCW storyline than anything that the Democrats would share with you. But I do have something else that we got to talk about, and that is the great lie.
Let me just say this one thing, though. I want to make sure, because while Trump is not handling the going after Kamala, and this is something that everybody's saying, like, dude, I wish he would just go and attack her on her record, and he's kind of staying away from that because her record as a DA or an attorney general is bad, but he wants to seem tough on crime. He doesn't want to seem weak on crime, and the whole plan from the campaign is to make these people look incompetent and weak. They can't talk to Xi Jinping. They can't deal with Putin. I'll strong arm them. Putin won't get out of line, right? So that's why they're going on these attacks and not attacking her where it's at. But the reason why she's doing that now is since Donald Trump has fumbled that, her campaign has recognized it and said, just take the high road. Don't do that. Let him be the bad guy here because he's fumbling going after you. He's attacking you in the wrong way. So let him hang himself. And this is where he is hurting himself and where the Trump campaign needs to wake up and say, okay, let's get to work. Let's go after him the real way. A lot of people think with Kennedy and Tulsi coming in that they can redirect their energy, especially since Tulsi destroyed Kamala in a debate. But this is actually a smart move by the Kamala Harris campaign to say, okay, right now Trump is messing up on this. Let him hang himself. Take the high road. Don't go after him like that. Even though whenever they get the chance, Kit, just like they did at the convention center in Chicago, they will use cultural issues no matter what because they are divisive.
Absolutely. Absolutely, brother. Now, here's the thing, too. We got to start talking about the great lie. And I want to play these two videos back to back. And then let's give our commentary on. Now, what's the great lie? The fact that we have a commander-in-chief that is in cognitive decline. Now, the thing is, this isn't anything new. Now, we've had questionable presidents here and there. But I mean, in antiquity up until now, there have been moments where a nation, empire, city-state, kingdom, republic has had their commander or chief leader, president, prime minister, emperor being completely out of it, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. And the thing is now, we do have to address the fact that we had an administration hide the fact that Joe Biden was on the decline. So these are two videos back to back about the great lie of Joe Biden's mental fitness.
No volume.
Oh, no volume?
No volume.
You have no volume here. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I think I played the wrong one. You guys can't hear it?
No.
Oh my goodness. Hold on. Let me go ahead and
We can hear your beautiful voice though.
Okay, hold on. Let me just go ahead and
refresh my coffee. I'm listening.
Yes. Let me go ahead and just refresh. Okay, I am sorry about that, folks. I don't know what happened there. But let's go ahead and play that again. Sorry, I am deeply apologetic. Folks.
No volume.
Huh. All right. Well, that is very odd because I'm able to hear it on my end. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and at least move on to this other one right here. So let's go ahead and do that. That is very disappointing and very concerning.
No volume.
Okay. Let me just go ahead and hit stop sharing on that one. Let's go ahead and hit the reshare on this one again. Perhaps am I being censored? That is odd because the other videos were able to work fine. This is a no bueno. Definitely.
Now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have.
Play it from the beginning though. So
Yes, let's go ahead and play it from the beginning. All right. I hate it when things don't work right.
You were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president. By contrast, the former president has none of that. And so, one, I am so proud to have served as vice president to Joe Biden. And two, I am so proud to be running with Tim Walz for
The emotional support animal.
president of the United States, and to bring America what I believe the American people deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
But the last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era that started about a decade ago, where there is some suggestion, warped, I believe it to be, that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, instead of where I believe most Americans are, which is to believe that the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. That's what's at stake as much as.
Nah. I'm sorry, not to be toxic here, but you got to sometimes lay the smack down. Sometimes there's people that got to get smacked in the mouth. Sometimes you got to regulate on a bastard. And at the same time, too, she's talking about the last decade. Okay, you had Trump and you have Biden, right? Because, again, they were part of the first previous 3.5 years. Then you have Trump. But hell, wait, a decade's 10 years. So that also encompasses, you better believe it, Barack Obama, and his VP Biden. See, again, we all have seen the mental decline of Joe Biden. I want to play one other video here where she had tears crying that Joe Biden said he's not going to run anymore because he's a senile old goat.
When he called you and said he was pulling out of the race, what was that like? And did he offer to endorse you right away, or did you ask for it?
It was a Sunday. So here, I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice President.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces. And we had just had pancakes and, Auntie, can I have more bacon? Yes, I'll make you more bacon. And then we were sitting down to do a puzzle. And the phone rang, and it was Joe Biden. And he told me what he had decided to do. And I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Yes." And that's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Did you ask for it?
He was very clear that he was going to support me.
So when he called to tell you, he said, "I'm pulling out of the race and I'm going to support you."
Well, my first thought was not about me, to be honest with you. My first thought was about him, to be honest. I think history is going to show a number of things about Joe Biden's presidency. I think history is going to show that in so many ways it was transformative.
Oh, God.
Be it on what we have accomplished around finally investing in America's infrastructure, investing in new economies, in new industries, what we have done to bring.
Can you pause it right there?
Back together.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, just two things here. First of all, number one, I don't believe any of that story even happened. But if you folks believe in it, let's have democracy in chat. Type 1 for yes, Kit. That was a heartfelt story. Type 2, man, that's a BS story. That ain't what happened. She's making it up as they go along. I don't know. I'll let all of you decide. Pasta, go ahead.
Well, it was a setup question. She knew it was coming, and she already had the answer ready for it. The mainstream media is the stenographers for the ruling class, right? I mean, same with all these placeholders. That's all Kamala Harris is. I mean, she's never gotten a job based upon her skill. She's always gotten a job based upon who she knew or who she, what. Talking about Mr. Sweet, Willie, the mayor, San Francisco. How many jobs did she take away from? How many jobs did she take away, Kamala Harris, from other, capable, qualified women, right? When people say, "Oh, how can you say that about a woman?" She
Are
took
you
that
saying
job
that
away from another
Montel Williams
qualified
is a
woman.
horrible
Yeah.
judge of character? Shame on you.
So, with that being said, we knew all this is fluff. We knew all this was coming. These stories mean nothing. But unfortunately, like we said, we saw a whole bunch of people in Chicago who are going to vote based upon feelings, not upon policy. And unfortunately, we have a bunch of low-informed voters in the United States. They're not educated voters, and these are the things that move these people to get out there, especially the low-hanging fruit. But what they say this all the time, and Donald Trump kind of makes these claims as well, how things changed so much and everything was just drastically different under Donald Trump and economy was booming. And yeah, when you look at the numbers on paper, you can honestly say that the numbers are better on paper for Donald Trump than they were than the Biden and Harris administration. Okay. But what infrastructure are they talking about? They signed an infrastructure bill and they keep throwing the term infrastructure out there. But the problem is not too many people decided to read the bill. I remember we had a show about this and an old school friend came on to talk about it. About that particular bill. And that bill is nothing more than a way of the ruling class and the government of federalizing highways so they can build pipelines along the way of them. There's no real infrastructure that has been built in the United States. We're still dealing with train and rail technology from the 70s. Are they building high-speed rails anywhere? Are they replacing roads and building bridges and stuff? And even smart Democrats will repeat this utter nonsense. No, I think I'll see an infrastructure problem in 20 years from now and go, oh, that's from the Biden era when he was, promoting infrastructure. No, you guys have to read the bill. It's just like the National Endowment for Democracy. The National Endowment for Democracy is anything for democracy. They're about imperialism. They're a CIA cutout, just like all these other bills. The Patriot Act. No, Patriot Act is all about securing the security state and the spying state, and that's what it's going to be about. So unfortunately, this sometimes works and people repeat this stuff, but there's nothing productive that has come out of this administration. I would argue nothing really productive came out of the Trump administration. If you're going to talk about the lesser of two evils, maybe you have an argument for Donald Trump's and the Republicans right now because the Democrats are just so out of control. It's ridiculous, especially when it comes to censorship. But these are the things that people need to push back on. What has the infrastructure bill brought us? Show me a bridge. Show me a road. Show me a railroad. Show me something, ladies and gentlemen, because at the end of the day, there's nothing there. And we need to call this part out. The other fluff, we could expect. We know all this BS is coming. But this right here, manufacturing back to the United States, where? When? How have we made some real systemic change here in the United States? And that's what we need, real systemic change.
Yeah, I can actually show you what's happening to our infrastructure. It is crumbling and falling apart. You have bridges crashing apart. You have trains derailing. You have airplanes falling out of the sky. You have abandoned factories and industry. You have abandoned cities and small towns. I mean, at this point, we're looking at a nation that is becoming a husk of what it once used to be. And the thing is, here we're given this story of somehow Kamala, defending the fact that for the past 3.5 years, we've been on decline because the president, Joe Biden, was himself in his own mental decline. And we warned about it way back in 2020. Myself and my colleague, Daniel Upker, who's the co-host and co-founder of Hardlands Media, we both talked about it. We both brought up the fact that Biden is not there mentally. And we said that Trump was going to run again in 2024, and this was going to be brought up. And we warned Democrats, hey, you better hope that Biden still remains sharp. But yet here we are. And yet Kamala's answers doesn't inspire confidence. Case in point, this one right here, as it has to do, and this will be the final video, folks, because I only could put you through so much. I was going to bring up about Kamala's hypocrisy on fracking, but, that can go frack itself. But this right here has to deal with the war in Gaza, the genocide that's happening in Gaza, and people are dying. And here is her plan to end the Israel-Hamas war, which, by the way, that's not going to happen because AIPAC owns our politicians. Representative Thomas Macy said it best: everybody in D.C. has an AIPAC babysitter.
President Biden has tried unsuccessfully to end the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He's been doing it for months and months, along with you. Would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel? That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
Let me be very clear. I'm unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not going to change. But let's take a step back. October 7, 1,200 people were massacred. Many young people who were simply attending a music festival. Women were horribly raped. As I said then, I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many.
How it does so matters. So let's see, targeting civilian centers, refugee centers, community centers, places of worship, so the churches and mosques. That's right. I said churches too. Apartment buildings, homes, universities, hospitals, schools, grocery stores. Okay, so about almost all of Gaza at this point, it could be argued is mostly a moonscape. You have open disease happening in which people are dying from diseases that have been defeated in the past century. You have people starving, no cookies for Gaza. There you go. There you go.
Polio.
Bethany. Yeah, polio's running amok. And and then of course you have people just getting popped and shot at, blown up. They got nowhere to run to. They're being pushed all over the place, being run down, being assaulted in many forms. But in the way it defends itself, last I checked, Kamala Harris, you and Biden do theoretically are in charge of a global superpower, and you could say, "Hey, stop!" You could actually use that power, but unfortunately, again, most of our politicians are owned by AIPAC.
Many innocent Palestinians have been killed, and
yet they didn't give them a voice at the DNC convention in Chicago.
We have got to get a deal done. We were in Doha. Mm-hmm. We have to get a deal done. This war must end.
In the meantime,
and we must get a deal that is about getting hostages out. I've met with the families of the American hostages. Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
but no change in policy in terms of arms and so forth.
No, we have to get a deal done. Dana, we have to get a deal done. When you look at the significance of this to the families, to the people who are living in that region, a deal is not only the right thing to do to end this war, but will unlock so much of what must happen next. I remain committed
All right, I got to stop there. I only can handle so much of her talking. Getting a deal done.
Yeah.
Getting a policy done. Pasta, your thoughts?
Well, it's classic both sidesing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So many politicians do this all the time. A lot of Democrats have been doing it as they've been trying to find a way to look compassionate and loving and look like they have a heart when it comes to the Palestinians, the plight of the Palestinians. However, Kamala Harris has said from the get-go, from her speech, that there's going to be an endless check and endless funds and weapons that are going to be going to Israel for them to defend themselves. So at the end of the day, as much mental gymnastics as you bring to the table is not going to work. People are going to call you out on your BS. And this is why I think at the end of the day, too, as well, that so many people on the left, the American left is different than actual leftists, but actual leftists should never vote for this person no matter what. The American left is going to be blue no matter who. We saw who they were at the convention. They are more excited about Little John saying turn down for what than actual policy, right? An actual policy.
My God.
But when you're saying right now, okay, if you want to really talk about, if you're going to figure out in your mind that we have to mitigate damage, you have to punish the Democrats for what they're doing right now. They're the ones who are funding this genocide. They're the ones funding this war. Yeah, it's very easy to say Donald Trump is going to do the same thing. We understand, he's all in for Israel. Beautiful, beautiful Israel kick. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be there. And I asked this question to a lot of people out there. What do you think? Do you think you want to take your chances with Kamala? Do you think with Donald Trump's going to be worse? But at the end of the day, like we said, and I'm going to say it again, this is the Democrats' war. This is Anthony Blinken. This is Joe Biden. They have funded this. This is Kamala Harris. And no matter how hard she tries to spin this, in AOC coming out on the first day, she's working tirelessly to end this war and bring about a ceasefire. No, she's not. Not when you say you're going to cut the check. Not when you're going to repeat lies about rape. She's throwing all the bullshit tropes and lies out there she can. This is on their hand. The blood is on the Democrats' hands, and you should make them pay for it, ladies and gentlemen. End of story. That doesn't mean go vote for Donald Trump. Just don't vote for them.
Not
that your vote's going to count anyways.
After sitting through this and listening to these clips, because there was a couple more, but I only could stomach so much before even I started realizing like she has nothing of substance to say, nothing of value. You know, looking at her campaign website, again, it is August 30th right now. So when I clip this video, maybe she'll post some policies up there, maybe not. And I know some people, a couple people said, well, here are some of her policies, but that's from a different site that's not even connected to the campaign website. I'm seeing nothing of value. And yet she brings her VP there for her big interview, right? And yes, Tim Walz did chime in here and there, but he had no business being there. I've seen Trump do solo interviews. And even though I disagree with a lot of his policies, at least he has something to talk about. And at least he has something that he does want to fight for. I may not agree with it, but at least, okay, I care about consistency. I care about perception. Perception drives reality. And the sad fact is, the definite truth is, Kamala, in this interview, gave nothing. There was nothing explosive. There was nothing to talk about. She is saying words and no follow through. A peace deal between Israel and Hamas,
platitudes.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Our economy. The economy went to crap under the Biden-Harris administration, and we are due for a Great Depression. Not a recession, but a depression. Our infrastructure is falling apart. She doesn't have a plan for that. And the very fact that she partook in the cover-up of Biden's mental decline says all I need to know about her leadership ability and her ability to be truthful to the American people. All right? At least Donald Trump was honest with us when he was asked, hey, why are we in the Middle East? Why are we in Syria? And he said, we're there because of the oil. The first time a president told us the truth, not because of freedom, not because of democracy, not because of protecting the people. We're there because of the oil. He gave away the secret sauce, but the secret sauce was the truth. Kamala, unfortunately, I had to subjugate my audience to this. You guys need to drill it in your head. She has no value. She has no promises. She has no policies. And yet this is who the Democrats are relying on.
Yep.
It is 50-50, in my opinion, on who will win this election. It all depends on who's going to have the higher voter turnout. Do not let these vote blue, no matter who bastards bully you. Now, if people want to vote for Trump, fine. I don't care. If you want to vote for Kamala, okay, whatever. You want to vote independent, good on you. And if you don't want to vote, that's fine as well. But know this, that the Democrats gave us nothing, and we have Kamala Harris who delivers nothing. I've learned nothing in regards to what she's going to fight for, except for more platitudes. Pasta the final word.
Well, I would just say this much, that, unfortunately, I don't think anything's going to fundamentally change. And you know how I feel about the election system. I'm not going to talk about it since we're on YouTube. But I think, Kit, that you've come up with something good here. I think you should do the morning dump after Kamala Harris, because after listening to her, I really need to go now badly. That's how bad and full of what she is. And that's all I got to say about that. Morning dump after Kamala. She really loosened stuff up there for you, doesn't she, ladies and gentlemen? Your audience is crying right now.
Probably that, or either that vomit. So there you go, folks. Election 2024. Doesn't matter who sits in the White House, but at least I know one thing. If there's going to be a liberal meltdown, I'm going to be feasting. You know what? I'm going to buy myself a nice ribeye steak and watch the liberals cry, as I should.